Okay, so it appears that the crowd at the Super Bowl loves Donald Trump, loves the president of the United States, not so into Taylor Swift. And you might say, well, why is that important? Why does that matter? Dave, what does this have to do with the shift that you're talking about? Well, there is a cultural shift happening. Here's what Donald Trump wrote after the game on Truth Social. The only one that had a tougher night than the Kansas City Chiefs was Taylor Swift. She got booed out of the stadium. MAGA is very unforgiving. Okay, now, here's where I'm going to explain the whole freaking thing to you. As we are going through this shift, as it is cool to be for America again, as people are applauding the president of the United States, as the president of the United States shows up to the Super Bowl as opposed to being hidden in the basement, as now people are booing the wokesters, right? The Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, he was big on COVID vaccines. Like, there's something shifting here. And now I will connect it to the politics of the day. Human Muppet Chris Hayes from the televised mental institution known as MSNBC was on Bill Maher's Real Time on Friday night. And I would say there's a divergence between these two guys. They're both Democrats in essence, both self-described liberals, but Hayes is, sort of a corporate Muppet and Bananas progressive. You know my feelings on Maher. Obviously, let's just say he's old school moderate at this point, right? And he realizes what time it is. He realizes that the culture has shifted. So they got into it about the Democrat messaging, and I thought this was quite good.
But it's also the case that, like, all of the reflection that happened after losing an election and trying to figure about how do you win back people you lost was real and true. And I guess my feeling is you got to fight, you got to try different things. And you have to be authentic. You can't reverse engineer any of this off a blueprint.
I mean, this Ken Martin guy, he said something I've heard Democrats say a lot. We didn't get our message out. Maybe I'm paraphrasing, but that's it. And I've said this before to Democrats. No, you did. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You did get your message out, and people don't like the message. Kamala's big, I think, challenge here to win over the undecided voters is to convince them that she's not part of what they suspect she might be, sort of a stealth version of the worst excesses of the left.
Oh, now this is getting juicy. The drama between Chris Hayes and Bill Maher is heating up faster than a Hollywood meltdown in the middle of awards season. And honestly, I'm living for every second of it. The woke ship? Yeah, it's not just sinking. It's plummeting. Think less Titanic, more like a rusty anchor dropped straight into the Mariana Trench. They're scrambling, flailing, tossing every lifeline they've got, but it's all in vain. Like pouring water on a duck's back, pointless. And then there's Chris Hayes, MSNBC's resident panic button, doing everything he can to derail the Trump train. But here's the twist. Bill Maher. Yes, that Bill Maher. He just flipped the switch and sent that train roaring full throttle, steam and fire blazing down the tracks. So buckle up. Because this ride, it's only just beginning.
It's also the case that, all of the reflection that happened after losing an election and trying to figure about how do you win back people you lost was real and true. And I guess my feeling is you got to fight, you got to try different things. And you have to be authentic. You can't reverse engineer any of this off a blueprint.
I mean, this Ken Martin guy, he said something I've heard Democrats say a lot. We didn't get our message out. Maybe I'm paraphrasing, but that's it. And I've said this before to Democrats. No, you did. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You did get your message out, and people don't like the message.
One at this point. It's almost comical. The Democrats are still stuck in their shiny, delusional bubble, a perfectly insulated echo chamber where reality doesn't stand a chance. And no, they still haven't woken up. Their messaging? Oh, it was loud. Deafening, actually. They went full throttle. Door knocking like doomsday was around the corner, flooding phones with text blasts, and pumping out campaign ads with the urgency of a Super Bowl halftime show. They hauled in half of Hollywood, most of the music industry, and rolled out A-listers on convention stages like it was the Oscars, just without the ratings. And now? Now they're confused, scratching their heads, pretending their message somehow missed the mark. Let me clue you in on why they're suddenly playing dumb, because it was never about truth. It's always been about illusion. They don't deal in facts. They push fantasy. They don't use logic. They sell emotion, And when reality finally taps them on the shoulder, they slap the label misinformation on it and run for cover. But maybe, just maybe, the message didn't miss. Maybe it just got lost in translation, and it's really no mystery why, not when your lead communicator is Kamala Harris. With her, it's a steady stream of confusion, word salads, and gold medal level incoherence delivered with a straight face. If there were an Olympic event for saying everything and nothing at once, Kamala would have swept the podium by now. So if she's the voice of your movement? Yeah. Disappointment isn't just probable, it's guaranteed. Just watch this.
We think about the future. We must, as a society, as a country, invest in adaptation and resilience, and we have to understand these extreme weather occurrences are extreme, but they are increasingly less rare.
Yep, there it is. Not a single coherent sentence in sight. Nothing she just said made the slightest bit of sense. And if you're sitting there thinking, wait, what was Kamala even talking about? Don't worry, you're not alone. She was supposedly addressing the recent fire that tore through parts of California. Shocking, right? I had to read the video caption just to figure out what planet she was on. So when Democrats say their message didn't reach the American people, for once they're absolutely right. Because Kamala Harris personally lost it in a maze of buzzwords, empty metaphors, and that signature nervous chuckle. Seriously. When your top communicator sounds like she's freestyling a TED Talk at 3 a.m., running on zero sleep and no script. Maybe that's why no one knows what your party stands for anymore. And this isn't just embarrassing, it's campaign ending. The word salad isn't just annoying, it's politically toxic. Kamala didn't just bury the message, she gift-wrapped. It lit it on fire and launched it straight into orbit. So yeah, that presidency? Kiss it goodbye. Anyway, back to Chris Hayes.
There is this sense in which there was this sort of backlash politics, some of which I understood, some of which people I know felt that way. I don't think what people wanted was for the women CIA agents at the CIA to be told that they can't get together once a month to celebrate former women spies. I just don't, I think fundamental parts of what we call in this country the traditions of pluralism, which is what this country is. And pluralism is another word for diversity. If we're not going to use that one, let's use pluralism. That fundamentally there's a majority that understands that we all come from different places.
Yeah.
And part of what makes this country work is we acknowledge and we negotiate those differences. And that's a thing that I think Democrats can win back a majority of messaging. I do.
Well, thank you so much. Great good luck with the book.
There's definitely been a wave of backlash politics. And to be fair, some of it I understand. People I know have felt that way too. But let's be honest, most people aren't. Upset about something like women at the CIA meeting once a month to honor former female agents. That's not the issue. At its core, this country is built on pluralism. And if we're not saying diversity, let's call it what it is.
It's no doubt.
There's no misinformation.
There's some disinformation from the left, but comparing it to what Donald Trump spews out every day, every week, comparing it to what Elon Musk is spewing out, unfortunately, on X, you sound like Brett Stevens now, with all due respect. It's a joke. That's a real time.
And you sound like him, who looks like Rachel Maddow.
You understand what I'm saying?
I've never argued with that. I've never argued of the false equivalency. I just said there is misinformation from both sides. So I lived through COVID. Don't tell me there wasn't misinformation.
But there's a difference between...
I lived through stupid policies based on bad information and stifled information.
But intent matters.
That's what Zuckerberg said. He said they were forcing us not to put